Europe, land of ancient civilizations, majestic landscapes, culture, and beauty. Every year, over 700 million people journey across this continent searching for something. But what exactly? Some say they come for history, others for art, and many for the cuisine. Yet the truth runs deeper. Europe is home to places that defy logic, lands where time appears to stand still and where ancient traditions endure. It is not merely a collection of monuments and museums, rather it is a living tapestry of cultures, each nation telling its story in a unique and unforgettable way. Medieval villages, Gothic cathedrals, enchanted forests, and idyllic lakes. This continent gave birth to modern civilization and today dominates global tourism. And now we take you on a journey to discover its most extraordinary places, destinations that we believe deserve a visit this year. Welcome to Europe. Loire Valley, France. A journey through the Loire Valley reveals a world where castles emerge from the morning mist. Towers rise above treetops while Renaissance gardens stretch toward the horizon. The Loire River flows gently between fortresses that once bore witness to battles and love stories that shaped France. Hidden among vineyards, medieval villages welcome travelers with cobblestone streets leading to squares where time seems frozen. Local markets turn these spaces into lively theaters of daily life, where the aroma of freshly baked bread mingles with centuries-old traditions. Chambord Castle dominates the landscape with its 426 rooms, an architectural wonder that defies reason. Chenonceau reflects gracefully on the waters of the river Cher, while Amboise guards the secrets of Leonardo da Vinci, whose spirit still lingers in its corridors. Villandry, on the other hand, unveils gardens that are true works of art, crafted in intricate geometric patterns. September is the ideal time to explore this region. Vines turn golden and purple, and the grape harvest transforms villages into festivals of color and tradition. The mild temperatures invite long, leisurely explorations of castles and surrounding towns. Andalusia, Spain. Andalusia tells the story of diverse cultures woven together across 6 cities, each adding its distinct voice to the chorus of Spanish history. In Seville, the Real Alcazar hides secret passages and courtyards where Moorish artistry blends with Christian design. The Giralda stands proudly as the city's emblem. Plaza de España enchants with grandeur, while the Santa Cruz Quarter whispers secrets through its narrow streets. In Granada, the Alhambra reigns, a palace city where architecture and water merge in perfect harmony. The General Life Gardens seem to defy gravity, while the Albayacin Quarter preserves Moorish traditions in its charming homes known as Carmenes. Cordoba is a labyrinth of alleys leading to the majestic Mesquita. Its Jewish quarter holds courtyards and synagogues at the very heart of Jewish culture, while the Roman bridge reflects gracefully on the Guadalquivir River. In Malaga, the sea dictates the rhythm of life. Museums preserve Picasso's legacy, while Gibralfaro Castle crowns the city, offering sweeping views that stretch as far as Africa. Finally, Ronda astonishes with its gravity-defying beauty, perched over a dramatic ravine that separates the old city from the new. The new bridge connects them, an enduring symbol of strength and resilience, unites these two worlds, while stone streets create a peaceful and immersive atmosphere. Marbella finally blends the charm of a fishing village with contemporary luxury. Its historic center, Plaza de los Naranjos, features white walls and flowered balconies, with Sierra Blanca forming the backdrop to this Mediterranean stage. May seems the perfect time to discover Andalusia, with patios bursting into bloom in a festival of colors, while the mild temperatures make exploring the cities enjoyable without the intense summer heat. When speaking of Italian islands, we naturally think of Sicily and Sardinia. Let's start with Sicily, where Mount Etna dominates the eastern horizon as Europe's highest active volcano, still releasing clouds of steam today. Along the north coast lies the famous village of Cefalù, where houses climb the rocky slopes up to the Norman cathedral. The Aeolian Islands, meanwhile, rise dramatically from the sea, often covered in lava. Stromboli, for example, erupts every 20 minutes, creating glowing displays in the night sky. Agrigento is home to the Valley of the Temples, while Taormina boasts a Greek theater overlooking the sea. Sardinia, in turn, is a paradise for lovers of the sea and nature, hiding pristine beaches among pink granite rocks. The Maddalena archipelago offers a labyrinth of islands and channels, while the Costa Smeralda is renowned for luxury resorts and some of the clearest waters in Europe. Not to be missed are Cala Luna and Cala Goloritsa, true natural havens accessible only by sea or via scenic trails, where the deep blue of the Mediterranean merges with pure white limestone cliffs. May, June, and September transform these islands into real paradises, with warm seas for swimming and landscapes filled with the colors and fragrances of blooming Mediterranean scrub. In the Lofoten Islands, the boundary between land and sea seems to dissolve. This archipelago rises from the Arctic Ocean like a dreamlike painting. Fishing villages with their red houses on stilts line the rugged coast. Here, the sun follows no rules. In summer, it never sets, creating endless days. In winter, it hides below the horizon, leaving the skies to the northern lights. Fishermen pursue cod migrating through icy waters, while towering mountains plunge straight into the sea. In sheltered bays, whales rest during their migrations, and sea eagles soar above the fjords. The best time to visit Lofoten depends on your interests. Summer offers endless days for hiking across wild trails, while winter turns the islands into a photographer's paradise, cloaked in snow and illuminated by the aurora borealis. The Swiss Alps form a natural barrier that touches the sky, crowned by the solitary Matterhorn. Here lies Zermatt, a car-free village where only the sound of footsteps in the snow breaks the silence. The red Bernina train climbs through landscapes that defy gravity, crossing tunnels and viaducts to link remote valleys. Grindelwald rests beneath the mighty Eiger, whose north face has challenged generations of mountaineers. Lakes Lucerne and Thun mirror the surrounding peaks, with steamboats carrying travelers between medieval villages. The castle of Chillon rises directly from the waters of Lake Geneva, while Appenzell preserves age-old traditions among its timber houses and cow pastures. July and August bring long days and mild weather. Snow retreats, mountain railways reopen, and visitors gain access to breathtaking, otherwise unreachable views. Bavaria reveals a land of castles hidden in the mountains. Neuschwanstein is the most famous, built by King Ludwig II and later inspiring Walt Disney himself. Munich, the regional capital, is known for the Glockenspiel in Marienplatz, a clock where mechanical figures dance to the chime of bells. The residence houses treasures collected over 700 years of Wittelsbach rule, while the Deutsches Museum preserves machines that shaped the course of history. In a remote valley lies Linderhof Castle, while the Romantic Road winds through some of Germany's most enchanting medieval towns. Rothenburg ob der Tauber preserves its intact walls, while Dinkelsbühl and Nordlingen offer timeless squares where merchants have gathered for centuries. September is the ideal time to visit Bavaria, when Munich bursts into life with Oktoberfest, and autumn colors paint the skies and landscapes. Hallstatt is like a three-dimensional postcard. Wooden and stone houses climb up the mountain, creating a cascade of roofs that mirror in the waters of the namesake lake. The Lutheran church's bell tower rises against the sky, becoming the focal point that has made this city Austria's most photographed subject. The historic center develops along a single narrow alley, with fishermen's and miners' houses featuring flowered balconies that jut out over the water. Boats cross the lake every hour, offering ever-new perspectives of the village. In the evening, house lights reflect on the water, creating a spectacle that has inspired artists for generations. May brings spring to these mountains, with tourists not yet crowding the streets, allowing for calm exploration of the village. When we speak of the Croatian islands, we mainly refer to Hvar and Korčula. Hvar is like an archive of maritime history, with Venetian walls protecting the harbor from the sea's fury. The Spanish fortress dominates the city from above, while vineyards climb the terrace slopes. Hidden bays reveal Roman ruins, and Benedictine monasteries preserve ancient manuscripts. Korčula, meanwhile, has walls shaped like a fishbone. St. Mark's Cathedral soars among stone houses, while the streets are designed to protect inhabitants from the winter Bora wind. Among the alleys hides Marco Polo's birthplace, and traditional Moresca dances echo in the squares. July is the perfect time to explore these islands, with the maestral wind cooling the days and the sea reaching ideal temperatures. A visit to Europe would not be complete without a tour of the Greek islands, primarily the Cyclades and Ionian Islands. Santorini is witness to a volcanic apocalypse with white and blue houses clinging to the caldera walls, where the sea fills the crater of a volcano that changed Mediterranean history. Akrotiri preserves a Minoan city buried in ash, frozen in time like Pompeii. Mykonos, meanwhile, boasts windmills dominating the port, Little Venice jutting over the water, and countless bars and beach clubs that party until dawn. Corfu offers some of the most beautiful beaches and waters in all of Greece. Crete finally hides the Minotaur's labyrinth, the Samaria Gorge, and Elafonisis beaches with pink sand. September transforms these islands into true paradises. The summer crowds diminish, the sea retains its warmth, and the winds calm, allowing peaceful navigation between islands. The Algarve reveals itself through stone arches carved by the ocean. Ponta da Piedade cuts into the Atlantic with rock formations and sea caves that open in the rock walls, accessible only by sea. Lagos preserves its Moorish period walls, and the port fills with fishing boats returning at dawn. Sagres guards its fort, which juts out over the ocean from a promontory that defies the waves. Tides reveal and hide beaches nestled among the rocks. May and September offer the ideal climate for exploring this coast, with calm seas allowing access to caves and pleasant temperatures for excursions. The Amalfi Coast follows State Road 163, a scenic route winding through cliffs, bays, and villages overlooking the sea. Positano clings to the mountain with houses that seem to defy gravity. Stairs replace streets, creating a vertical labyrinth that leads from the sea up to hilltop vineyards. Amalfi hides its maritime republic past behind the cathedral's facade, while narrow alleys climb among lemon groves and noble palaces. Ravello rises above the clouds, where Villa Ruffalo and Villa Simbrone offer terraces suspended over the void, and the cathedral blends Eastern and Western styles. The Path of the Gods crosses the coast between sky and sea, revealing idyllic panoramas and terraced lemon groves supported by centuries-old dry stone walls. April and October are ideal times to visit, when the climate allows for long walks and the reduced number of tourists leaves space to explore the alleys and savor the local rhythm of life. When thinking of Spain, the sea, and nightlife, one cannot help but think of Barcelona, a city that blends history and modernity. La Barceloneta offers a perfect beach for morning relaxation, where restaurants still serve fresh fish from local fishermen. La Rambla runs through the city center, shaded by century-old plane trees where street artists and pedestrians gather. The Sagrada Familia, still unfinished, has been rising toward the sky for more than a century, with towers unlike any other in the world. The Boqueria market is an explosion of life. Under its iron vaults, stalls showcase the richness of Catalan gastronomy with fruits, jamón ibérico, and fresh fish. The Gothic quarter, with its alleys and squares, preserves the medieval soul of the city, once home to merchants and sailors. Barcelona is also adorned with Gaudi's masterpieces, such as Casa Batlló and Casa Mila. And then there's Park Güell, perched on a hill and offering sweeping views of both the city and the sea. Its mosaic-covered benches and whimsical structures create a space where nature and art come together. But what's the best time to visit this city? Definitely from April to June, or from September to October, when the weather is perfect for exploring. The fjords cut into the Norwegian coast like scars left by the glaciers that shaped this land. Geiranger Fjord stretches inland for 15 kilometers, with the Seven Sisters waterfalls plunging dramatically from vertical cliff. Nærøy Fjord, meanwhile, narrows between sheer rock walls rising 1,700 meters high, where ships appear like ants in this vast marine canyon. Small villages cling to every patch of land, reachable only by sea or through paths carved into the rock. Finally, there's Sognefjord, the king of fjords, extending 204 kilometers inland. Here, Viking wooden churches still stand, resisting the passage of time. July offers nearly 20 hours of daylight to explore these landscapes, while the midnight sun paints the sky in shifting colors reflected in the calm waters. Isle of Skye, Scotland. Skye rises from the Scottish Sea as a dramatic blend of rock and water. The Old Man of Storr stands solitary on the coast, a basalt pinnacle that seems to defy gravity. The Quirang reveals a surreal, lunar-like landscape formed by ancient landslides where the earth still moves beneath visitors' feet. The fairy pools descend from the Black Quillins in a series of waterfalls and crystal-clear pools, while Dunvegan Castle safeguards the legendary fairy flag. At Nice Point, a lighthouse juts into the ocean, braving storms, while cliffs host colonies of puffins. May brings longer days and less rain when the blooming heather and shifting clouds create plays of light that transform the scenery. Transylvania, Romania. In the heart of the Carpathians, Transylvania preserves a world seemingly forgotten by time. Bran Castle rises from the forest, its towers cutting into the sky. Though Dracula never lived here, vampire legends permeate its stone walls. The village of Iskry still preserves Saxon houses built in the 12th century, with a fortified church whose walls defended inhabitants for centuries. Sigiswara keeps the medieval age alive within its citadel, where the clock tower has marked time for 700 years. At 6 Kosatorerler Street, Vlad the Impaler, the prince who inspired the Dracula myth, was born. Finally, the Raznov fortress dominates the valley from a hilltop where a 143-meter well carved into solid rock tells the story of 2 Turkish prisoners who spent 17 years completing it. October transforms Transylvania into a land of mists and colors, with fallen leaves carpeting the woods, and mild temperatures inviting long explorations of villages and castles. Faroe Islands, Denmark. The Atlantic Ocean has sculpted these islands for millions of years, creating vertical cliffs that plunge into the sea. Sheep graze on grass-covered slopes, while the village of Saxund hides in a valley that was once a fjord. Twice a day, the tide transforms the landscape, revealing and concealing ancient paths. Lake Sorvagsvatn seems to float above the ocean, though it's only an optical illusion created by the cliff's formation. Nearby, the Mulafosser waterfall plunges directly into the sea, while tiny villages like Gassadalur, once accessible only by paths and now by tunnels, house just a few dozen residents. In June, the midnight sun stretches the day to nearly 20 hours, bathing the islands in magical light, the best time to visit these lands. Cappadocia, Turkey. You know, Cappadocia looks like a landscape from another planet. Over centuries, wind and water have sculpted volcanic rock into thousands of fairy chimneys. Hidden within them lie underground cities extending up to 8 levels below ground, and these were once shelters for entire populations during invasions. Göreme preserves churches carved into rock, with their Byzantine frescoes protected for centuries by darkness. Uçhisar dominates the region with its natural fortress, where homes blend seamlessly with stone. At dawn, hundreds of hot air balloons rise into Cappadocia's skies, revealing valleys and canyons shaped like a lunar landscape. September is the ideal month to visit, with mild weather, clear skies, and perfect conditions for both hiking and stargazing. Lake Como, Italy. Lake Como winds gracefully between the mountains of northern Italy like a silver ribbon. It forms an inverted Y with historic villas reflected in its waters. Villa Balbianello stands on a promontory, its loggias opening to the lake from every angle with terraced gardens descending to the shore. Bellagio rises where the lake divides into 2 branches, its stone streets climbing toward the promontory's peak, where Villa Cerbelloni's gardens preserve plants from every continent. The village of Verena, meanwhile, maintains the charm of a fishing settlement, with houses facing the lake. The Brunate funicular climbs to 700 meters, unveiling panoramas that stretch as far as the Alps. In April and May, the lake transforms into a theater of colors, as gardens burst into bloom and temperatures make walking the paths that connect the villages a delight. Canary Islands, Spain. Off the African coast, the Canaries rise from the Atlantic like fragments of a primordial world. Lanzarote reveals craters and lava fields, where life pushes through volcanic rock. Timanfaya National Park resembles a Martian landscape, while the mountains of fire shape the island with their eruptions. Tenerife, meanwhile, rises from the sea with Mount Tide, Spain's highest volcano. At night, the mountain becomes a natural observatory, while La Orotava preserves botanical gardens where endemic species have survived for millions of years. Gran Canaria hides sand dunes that seem transported from the Sahara, offering breathtaking landscapes for hiking and trekking. Continuing, La Gomera preserves a prehistoric forest in Gariglione National Park, and its inhabitants still practice an ancient whistled language that echoes across valleys. Fuerteventura finally offers beaches stretching for kilometers, its name born from the constant wind that shapes its landscapes. March and April are the perfect months to explore these islands, as calmer winds and subtropical temperatures allow for swimming in the ocean. Iceland. In the North Atlantic, right where two great tectonic plates meet, lies an immense natural laboratory of ice and fire. Vatnajökull, Europe's largest glacier, dominates the island's panorama. Beneath its icy surface, active volcanoes carve out dazzling ice caves that change every summer, while glacial rivers have carved deep canyons into the land. Reykjavik, the capital, is a city powered by Earth's natural heat. Homes are warmed by geothermal water that springs from underground, and it's not unusual to see steam from thermal pools rise into the sky, mingling with the northern lights. Route 1, the main highway, circles the entire island. Along it, you'll find dramatic waterfalls plunging from dark cliffs, geysers erupting every few minutes, and volcanic landscapes like Lake Mývatn, where solidified lava and sulfur vapors create a lunar scene. The western fjords open into deep inlets with cliffs that host millions of puffins, while orcas swim in the surrounding waters. The Central Highlands, so wild that they are inaccessible most of the year, consist of vast deserts of volcanic ash, shaped continuously by active volcanoes. July brings the midnight sun and mild temperatures, opening mountain roads to the highlands where Vikings once feared spirits dwelled. Lake Ohrid, North Macedonia. This remarkable lake preserves more than 200 endemic species, some of which have survived from over 1 million years ago. Trout swim in the same waters where their ancestors thrived during the Ice Age. The city of Ohrid climbs a hill dotted with 365 churches, one for each day of the year, while St. Caneo stands out on a promontory, its domes mirrored in the lake. Fishing villages still preserve ancient techniques, with life revolving around net fishing. June is the perfect month to visit, when the Ohrid Festival fills the air with classical music and the squares come alive with art and culture. This limestone archipelago rises from the Mediterranean, steeped in history. Valletta, the capital, boasts palaces of the Knights of Malta on nearly every street. The Co-Cathedral shelters masterpieces beneath gilded vaults, while Forts St. Elmo and St. Angelo continue to guard the harbor as they did during the Ottoman siege of 1565. Medina, known as the Silent City, holds medieval alleys where time seems frozen. Gozo, meanwhile, guards the Gantia temples older than the pyramids themselves. In April and May, Malta turns into a blooming garden, fields blanketed in wildflowers, while the sea warms enough to reveal marine caves. For millennia, the Rhine has carved its way through German lands, flowing between castles that rise from the morning mist. Marksburg, intact since 1117, is the only Rhine fortress never destroyed. The Loreley, a 132-meter rock, towers above the river's narrowest bend, while Pfalzgrafenstein Castle sits on a small island, once serving as a customs house to collect tolls. In Bacharach, 15th-century half-timbered houses still stand alongside Werner's unfinished chapel. Oberwesel preserves its medieval walls with 16 watchtowers. By September, the valley becomes a golden mosaic, as vineyards cover the slopes, while the mild weather invites river cruises and strolls between villages. A hidden paradise where mountains dive into the turquoise sea. The Albanian coast is dotted with pristine beaches and coves, often accessible only by boat. The crystal-clear waters of Ksamil embrace small islands, forming a tropical-like oasis. At Butrint, a UNESCO site with 2,500 years of history, the Greek theater reflects in the lagoon, where ancient mosaics meet Venetian fortifications. Himara, perched on the mountains, is a village of narrow alleys where elders still speak an ancient dialect. June is the best time to visit, when the sea warms for swimming, and the mountains provide cool trails into untouched national parks. Provence, France. Imagine walking through endless lavender fields painting the landscape purple. That's the magic of Provence, where each village seems part of an artist's canvas. Hidden among the flowers lies the ancient Senanca Abbey, where monks continue 8 centuries of tradition. Climbing higher, Les Baux de Provence emerges like a medieval fairy tale, crowned with a castle that recalls the Age of Knights. Not far away, Roussillon glows in shades of red, its houses and streets colored by ochre. The village of Gourdais rises in spirals up the hill, its streets unchanged for centuries. The best time to visit? July, when lavender blooms under the summer sun, filling the air with fragrance and bathing the land in impressionist light. Val d'Orcia and Florence, Italy. Val d'Orcia is a living Renaissance painting. White roads wind between rolling hills lined with cypress trees. Val d'Orcia, Italy. The Vitelletta Chapel stands solitary, a reference point for many pilgrims since medieval times. Among the most beautiful villages, Pienza emerges from the valley like an ideal city experiment. Palazzo Piccolomini overlooks Val d'Orcia through a loggia that frames the landscape, while streets carry names of love and fortune such as Love Street, Kiss Street, and Fortune Street. Florence, meanwhile, preserves Renaissance genius in every street and palace. The Ponte Vecchio crosses the Arno, while Brunelleschi's dome rises into the sky, defying the laws of physics. In May, Val d'Orcia transforms into a spectacle of colors, with poppies dotting the wheat fields, while pleasant temperatures invite long walks between art and nature. Bruges, Belgium. Bruges emerges from Flanders mists with characteristic canals weaving through the historic center and reflecting medieval houses that have stood unchanged for 500 years. Boats glide beneath stone bridges where Hanseatic League merchant ships once sailed. The Belfort towers over the market square, housing a carillon of 47 bells that still play medieval melodies. Stone-paved streets wind through red brick buildings, while hidden alleys reveal quiet courtyards and Gothic facades. In December, Bruges becomes a winter fairy tale. Christmas markets light up the squares and the scent of chocolate drifts from artisan workshops. Tallinn, Estonia. Tallinn preserves Northern Europe's most complete medieval walls. The old town is divided into upper and lower quarters, connected by secret passages carved into limestone. In the town hall square stands Europe's oldest pharmacy, operating since 1422, while St. Olaf's Church hides a tower that in 1500 was the tallest building in the world. The Kalamaja district showcases 19th century wooden houses, many now transformed into cultural centers. Tumpia castle walls, meanwhile, protect the Estonian parliament, while bastions open onto panoramic viewpoints called balconies. In August, the city enjoys white nights with only a few hours of sunset as medieval music festivals fill the streets with ancient melodies. Prague, Czech Republic. Prague is a stone book, written across 5 centuries of history. The castle dominates the city from its hilltop, the world's largest palace complex with adjoining courtyards and gardens. Nearby stands St. Vitus Cathedral, guarding the Bohemian crown jewels in a chamber locked with 7 keys. Charles Bridge spans the Vltava on 16 arches lined with statues that have watched over passers-by since 1357, witnessing processions, battles, and revolutions. The astronomical clock in Old Town Square has measured time since 1410, with mechanical figures performing every hour. In the Jewish quarter, 6 synagogues survive, while Golden Lane shelters tiny houses once used by alchemists seeking to turn lead into gold. In May, the Spring Festival fills churches and palaces with music as gardens awaken after winter's rest. Edinburgh, Scotland. Edinburgh reveals 2 distinct souls, the medieval Old Town and the Georgian New Town. The castle rises from volcanic rock, safeguarding the stone of destiny upon which Scottish kings were crowned. Beneath it lies an underground city where people lived during the 17th century. The Royal Mile descends from the castle, lined with historic landmarks such as St. Giles Cathedral, tied to Scotland's knightly orders. Arthur's Seat, an extinct volcano, dominates the skyline, while Victoria Street, with its colorful shops and curved facades, remains one of Scotland's most picturesque corners. Every August, Edinburgh transforms into the world's largest art festival, its streets alive with performers, while nightly fireworks crown the castle. Krakow, Poland. Krakow preserves the medieval soul of Poland. Wawel Castle rises on a hill, once the center of Polish power, while its cathedral shelters the tombs of kings. The Market Square, Europe's largest medieval square, hosts merchant stalls, historic cafes, and street musicians. St. Mary's Church soars above with its asymmetrical towers, while the Jewish quarter of Kazimierz pulses with life. Synagogues stand beside cafes serving traditional dumplings, and in May, the Jewish Culture Festival fills the streets with klezmer music, as courtyards transform into open-air galleries. Kotor, Montenegro. Kotor lies hidden at the end of a fjord in the Bay of Kotor. Venetian walls climb the mountain for 4.5 kilometers, with 1,350 steps leading to St. John's Fortress. Inside, the old town unfolds a maze of squares and alleys with landmarks such as St. Tryphon's Cathedral and the Maritime Museum. Cats rule the narrow streets while Orthodox and Catholic churches coexist side by side, reflecting centuries of cultural blending. In September, mild weather and fewer crowds create the perfect setting to explore this Mediterranean jewel, as surrounding mountains shield the bay from strong winds. Rome, Italy. Rome, known as the Eternal City, holds 3,000 years of history. Traces of every era remain, shaped by the Roman Empire that ruled here for 5 centuries. The Colosseum, once hosting 50,000 spectators, still stands in the city's heart, its stones bearing the marks of time. The Roman Forum spreads across a valley between 7 hills, with ancient temples and marble columns recalling the city's origins. Piazza Navona preserves the outline of a Roman stadium, while the Trevi Fountain pours nearly 3 million liters of water each day, inviting visitors to toss in a coin and make a wish. Every day, millions of cubic feet of water flow, and tourists contribute about $3,300 in coins. Naturally, the proceeds go to charity. Continuing, Vatican City rises in the heart of Rome. St. Peter's Basilica can hold up to 60,000 faithful, while the Sistine Chapel safeguards Michelangelo's priceless frescoes. Roman restaurants line every alley of the center, with traditional kitchens serving pasta alla carbonara or cacio e pepe. Vienna, Austria. Through the mists of the Danube emerges a city where music dictates the rhythm of life. Vienna is not told, it is listened to. Violin sounds escape from academy windows, while in historic cafes the aroma of strudel mingles with the debates of modern philosophers. Schönbrunn Palace guards imperial secrets, while St. Stephen's Cathedral soars at the city's heart with its colorful tiled roof. Vienna's streets are both elegant and imposing. Its historic squares teem with life, offering shops and horse-drawn carriage rides. In winter, from December to February, the city transforms into a magical stage. Christmas markets light up the squares, snow blankets, the palaces and ballrooms fill with dancers waltzing the night away. During this season, Vienna reveals its true spirit as an imperial capital. The Danish capital thrives with canals that unite rather than divide. They run through the city like veins, giving life to every corner. Bicycles outnumber cars, shaping the city's character. In Nyhavn Harbor, sailors' houses stand proudly, and it was here that Hans Christian Andersen penned his fairy tales. Today, fishermen still sell fresh catch directly from their boats. The Tivoli Gardens are a must-visit, but even a casual stroll reveals furniture workshops and ceramic boutiques. From May to September, Copenhagen shines at its best. Sunlight lingers late into the evening, outdoor cafes buzz with activity, and gardens burst with color. On the banks of the Douro River lies a city that instantly captures hearts. The scent of the sea mingles with that of wine aging in its cellars, while fishing boats depart at dawn among flocks of seagulls. Vila Nova de Gaia's cellars preserve the world-famous port wine, while houses climb the hills, forming a mosaic of red rooftops. São Bento Station, with its intricate azulejos, Portugal's traditional tiles, is a must-see. Meanwhile, in Ribeira's taverns, codfish reigns supreme. From September to October, Porto offers its best face, with pleasant weather for long explorations and harvest celebrations filling the streets. Stockholm is an archipelago where every canal tells a story and every bridge links one century to another. Viking ships rest in museums while modern ferries weave a network of connections between islands. In Södermalm, old warehouses transform into hubs of Scandinavian design. Meanwhile, the cobbled streets of Gamla stan, Stockholm's medieval heart, wind between ochre and amber-colored buildings leading to enchanting squares. In summer, from June to August, the sun barely sets, offering endless days. Parks brim with life, outdoor cafes thrive, and the archipelago calls for exploration. In the heart of Flanders, Ghent hides a remarkable secret. During medieval times, it was larger than Paris and London. The Count's castle stands on water, guarding Europe's largest collection of torture instruments, whispering stories few have heard. Ghent's canals crisscross the medieval center where three rivers meet to form historic routes once traveled by merchants. Their houses still reflect in the water, showcasing typical Flemish facades. Rising above them are three medieval towers: St. Bavo's Cathedral, St. Nicholas's Church, and the Belfry. September is the ideal time to visit, when mild weather welcomes visitors, and the Odegon Festival transforms the canals into floating stages. A city divided by a river but united by bridges. The Danube flows powerfully, and at night the illuminated bridges resemble constellations mirrored on the water, while boats glide between Buda and Pest. Beneath the city lies a labyrinth of caves home to thermal lakes. Thermal baths, in fact, are among Budapest's most iconic attractions. On the riverbank, the parliament rises like a cathedral of democracy, with spires reaching toward the sky and foundations sinking into the river. From March to May, Budapest shines, and its prime temperatures are ideal for climbing Buda's hills. Gardens bloom and open-air thermal baths become unforgettable. The Thames is the lifeline of this city, flowing since its earliest days. London never sleeps. It pulses through underground tunnels and age-old streets. Big Ben marks universal time, while ravens soar around the Tower of London. In Borough Market, global flavors mingle under Victorian arches, while pubs serve fish and chips alongside 5 o'clock tea. Each morning, fog unveils a different face of the city. In St. James's Park, squirrels rule their leafy kingdom, indifferent to the surrounding royal palaces. From May to September, London reveals its finest self. London, England. London opens to tourists. Parks become living rooms, festivals animate the streets, and occasional rains do not stop the city's rhythm. A system of interconnected water mirrors where water reigns supreme. 16 lakes, fed by waterfalls, create a natural staircase that descends through the forest. Limestone, dissolved in water, builds new barriers every day, while beneath the surface trout swim among submerged logs and aquatic vegetation. Wooden paths seem to float on the water, allowing visitors to walk across. Caves hidden behind waterfalls explain why bears and wolves still inhabit the surrounding forests today. From April to June or September to October, Plitvice reveals its true essence. During these months, moderate temperatures and reduced rainfall make trails easier to explore, while the waterfalls maintain their vigor. Among the Alps lies a city that breathes music. Mozart's melodies still echo among Baroque palaces, while cathedral bells mark the passage of time. Hohensalzburg Fortress towers above the city, watching over it. In the markets, the aroma of strudel mingles with the notes of street musicians. Master chocolatiers craft famous filled chocolates, while monastery breweries continue producing beer from ancient recipes. From June to August, Salzburg transforms with the Classical Music Festival. The mild climate invites exploration of medieval alleys and Baroque gardens, while outdoor concerts fill the squares with melodies. Two cities united by an invisible thread of history. Madrid pulses in the present while Toledo guards the past. The capital awakes with markets at dawn and thrives in squares that never sleep. The Prado Museum preserves Spanish art treasures, while the Royal Palace tells stories of empire and power. Just half an hour away, Toledo seems suspended in time. The three cultures, Christian, Muslim, and Jewish, have left their mark on every corner of the city. The cathedral hides priceless treasures, while synagogues and mosques recall a history of coexistence. In Madrid's San Miguel market, jamun and olives reign undisturbed, while in Toledo, marzipan keeps medieval recipes alive. Spring is the perfect season to visit both cities, free from the burden of summer heat, with Holy Week processions filling the streets with tradition. True stone giants rising in northern Italy. The Tresume di Lavaredo massifs mark the boundary between earth and sky, while high-altitude meadows hide turquoise lakes. In winter, snow transforms the mountains into an icy kingdom where skiers trace lines across the slopes. In summer, trails reveal valleys that host dozens of marmots. At sunset, the rocks glow pink, while mountain huts produce cheese and offer shelter among the clouds. The Dolomites offer two ideal visiting seasons, summer for hiking and climbing, and winter for winter sports, with guaranteed snow and slopes for everyone. Paris, France. The city of love can never be missed when exploring Europe. The Eiffel Tower pierces the clouds, while the Seine divides and unites the city as it has for centuries. Beneath the ground, the catacombs hide stories of plague and revolution, while above, Notre Dame Cathedral rises again from its ashes. The Louvre guards treasures of lost civilizations, and Montmartre maintains its timeless village spirit. Meanwhile, boulangeries fill the streets with the aroma of freshly baked baguettes, one of the city's lasting symbols. From April to June or September to October, Paris blooms with life, revealing its essence. Lisbon, Portugal. The city of seven hills tells its story through fado, a traditional melancholic music. The singers' voices flow from Alfama's venues, while yellow trams climb steep hills, carrying stories between neighborhoods. The Geronimos Monastery guards the tombs of kings who dreamed of empires beyond the horizon, and nearby, Belém Tower draws countless visitors. The city's stairs and alleys form a vertical labyrinth, decorated with azulejos, while miraduros open onto sweeping views. Spring or autumn bring the best climate for exploring Lisbon, with mild temperatures that make the climbs easier to face. Amsterdam, Netherlands. A city born from and upon water, with canals forming a web that holds the urban fabric together. The narrow houses lean forward while bicycles outnumber inhabitants, creating a constant flow of wheels and bells. Bridges open to let boats pass, carrying goods, tourists, and stories. The flower market floats on water, a tradition preserved for generations. The Rijksmuseum and Van Gogh Museum are must-visits, but hidden courtyards also offer moments of peace and wonder. In spring, tulips bloom, temperatures rise, and outdoor cafes fill with life. This is the perfect time to visit Amsterdam. Lake Bled, Slovenia. Amid the Julian Alps, a lake emerges with an island floating at its center, crowned by a church. Overlooking it all, a castle clings to a cliff, bearing witness to centuries of history. Traditional boats called pletna glide across the water, carrying tourists to the island. Beneath the surface, the lake hides thermal springs that keep the water temperate. From June to September, the lake shows its true character, with paths around its shores inviting long walks, while nearby mountains take on surreal colors. Cliffs of Moher, Ireland. The roar of the Atlantic crashes against a towering wall of rock, rising 214 meters above the sea. On Ireland's wild west coast, the cliffs of Moher have stood defiant against the ocean for 350 million years. Water has carved caves into their base, and wind has sculpted every layer of stone along their 8-kilometer stretch. Thousands of seabirds nest among these cliffs, making them their home. At the highest point, O'Brien's Tower, built in 1835, watches over the endless horizon. On clear days, the view stretches as far as the Aran Islands and the mountains of Connemara. Winding paths trace the cliff edge, while the rock shifts color with the passing hours. Legend even speaks of a sunken city hidden beneath the waves. The best time to visit? From April to September, when the weather is calmer, the days are longer, and nature reveals all its breathtaking beauty. Venice, Italy. In a lagoon of the Adriatic Sea rises a city built entirely on water. Venice spreads across 118 islands and 177 canals that cut through the heart of the city. Bridges connect every corner, each with its own story. The Rialto Bridge, for example, has spanned the Grand Canal since 1591, while the Bridge of Sighs links the Ducal Palace to the old prisons. St. Mark's Square lies at the city's lowest point. Its basilica dazzles with 86,000 square feet of golden mosaics, while the bell tower soars 322 feet into the sky. Gondolas, each weighing about 1,320 pounds, have glided along the canals for centuries. Meanwhile, the Baccari serve cicchetti from morning until evening. Spring or autumn offers the perfect moment to discover Venice, with mild weather and fewer crowds. Temperatures are lower and the tourist flow is reduced. Thanks for watching until the end. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.